Thank you for joining us for another daily devotion. I want to ask you a question that I'm sure everybody will agree on. What is your favorite movie, and why is it Pure Country? And now I know probably not many of you may like that movie or know that movie, but I was reminded as I was looking through some items here about the album Pure Country, and as I was thinking about this and thinking about this movie, there's a certain scene that happens in the storyline and the plot of this movie that I find very relatable. And I think it's relatable to a lot of people, not just pastors, but maybe pastors feel this as well. But anyway, the story is that this is an account of a man named Wyatt or Dusty. He goes by the stage name Dusty. And Wyatt is kind of tired of being this big performing artist with all the lights, with all the cameras, with all the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. And what he realizes is that at the heart of why he loves to do what he does is he loves music. He loves singing country music. And there's an interesting scene that he and his drummer, they're out and they're hanging out and they're talking about when they were kids and they went to this carnival and they go to this carnival and they see this area that you can go in and you can go see a dancing chicken. And they walk in, they pay their money, and they go and check out that dancing chicken, and they're wondering, how does this chicken dance? And so they sneak around the back part. And it's very interesting that what they find out is that they had installed a stove underneath the platform on which that chicken would stand. And when people would come in and pay their money, they'd just turn the burners up, and that would make that floor hot so it would look like that chicken was dancing. And in that moment, as they're laughing about remembering that dancing chicken, Wyatt looks at his friend and he says, just no dancing chicken. Sometimes I feel like a dancing chicken. You know, in an age of social media, in an age of everything being online, I think there's a temptation for us as leaders and pastors and preachers of the gospel to become just dancing chickens, where people come in and it's our job to entertain them. We feel that pressure to be engaging, to keep you connected, to feel that pressure to do all these things just to please the crowd. You know, Charles Spurgeon said something that was really, really interesting. He said, there'll come a day in the church when instead of hiring shepherds for the flock, they'll hire clowns to entertain the goats. That quote has stuck with me, that I hope that you know above all things. I desire for you to know one thing and one thing only, and that is Christ and Him crucified. I love what Paul writes in his writing as he talks about the wisdom of the world versus the foolishness of the cross. You know, there's a foolishness in preaching the gospel that, on one hand, the gospel is offensive. To receive the gospel, you have to first admit that you're in need and that you've messed up, you've made mistakes, and your sin has kept you separated from God. And so for a lot of people, the gospel instantly starts out to be very, very offensive. And then the next thing the gospel asks us to do is to confess that to the Lord, but also to confess it one another and to share our struggles. And for us in this individualistic culture that says to build yourself up, that whatever you are, that's okay, and all this kind of stuff, for us to hear that, for me to think that I'm going to have to share my struggles and my shame, when in the scene of social media, everything that I'm taught in this culture is to put my best self forward and make sure that I've got it all together and make sure the picture looks just perfect and edited enough just to post on Instagram or on social media. And so people will like me or like the picture or they'll follow me and all this kind of stuff. And the truth is, my life's chaos more often than not. And if you're honest, so is yours. And I'm praying for you that in these days you don't feel like a dancing chicken. You don't feel like you just have to perform, that you have to keep being that perfect representation. You don't have to keep up with the perfect image. It'd be nice if we could all get to the point where we just realize, hey, I'm broken. I'm messy. My life's messy. My house is messy. My kids' lives are messy. My wife's life is messy. Everybody I know has a messy life, and it's because of our very nature. And we can easily get into this situation where we start comparing ourselves to others, and we usually don't compare ourselves with people in like situations. Instead, we compare the best of others to ourselves, and then we feel like, again, we have to perform and know and do more and more and more, or our life is out of control compared to others. And the truth is that we all got a lot of struggles going on. So I want to encourage you today. I hope that in your relationship with Christ, you just come back to the basics. You know what happens in that movie is that the title of it is Pure Country. And they come back to what's pure about country music and why it goes back out as Dusty, and he goes out and he performs, but he does it different. He does it with just him, his guitar, and the band behind him. And I think sometimes, if we were honest, a lot of our efforts in modern day Christianity are to maybe keep the crowd going, to keep an audience. And I just want to remind you of something Adrian Rogers said that I've always taken to heart. God never called me to fill an auditorium. He called me to fill a pulpit. And I would encourage other pastors with that same message. Man, preach the gospel. Let's give them the pure gospel, the good news of Jesus. And we don't have to feel like dancing chickens. And then for other leaders, I would just say this. You're making decisions right now that we've never had to make before in our lifetime. And you're not going to get it all right. I would encourage you, just do the best you can. I would encourage you, just confess when you make a mistake. Be humble enough to own it and say, hey, you know what? I messed that one up. I could have done better. And I want to encourage you that I'm praying for you. I hope that the Lord's presence is with you and that you know Him as your Lord and Savior, and that you can rest in knowing that all of our failures and all the ways we don't add up have been nailed to the cross, and now Christ lives through us. And so I want to know one thing among you, and that's Christ and Him crucified. I hope you know that gospel. And for you that are leading in your homes and parents, I'm praying for you. Don't feel like everything has to be picture perfect. Let's just be real. Let's be genuine. And let's love Jesus with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And let's love our neighbor as ourselves, because they're struggling too. Thank you so much. We love you.